What's going on, world? Jack of all spades CLT, back like another Fast and Furious movie. I am the beloved one, DJ Spellman. To my left, Pride of Africa, Ken Wabibi.
Yes, it's me, Pride of Africa. Shout out to Central Africa Republic. Central African Republic. My bad.
Sorry, somebody else just in case.
Nah, I got it right. Central African Republic. Shout out to y'all.
Big up the African nation. To my right, we have Banks on the beat.
Is there Blue Water Banks, Fat Boy Tires, Charlotte, North Carolina,
3700.
Wilkinson Boulevard.
You know what time it is.
Alley-oop.
And today, our special guest is a Red Wing, Minnesota native. He is also the co-founder and CEO of 2U Laundry. We present to you today, Alex Smereczniak.
Nailed it. Yep.
Yes. Win. So how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. I mean, I'm hoping my Vikings don't go 0-4 today. So sitting here checking the score nervously, but
well,
I'm
sir,
good.
First and foremost, we appreciate you making time for us.
Yes.
Likewise, no, I appreciate you guys having me. Congrats for doing this for a year now, over a year. For us, that was our first big milestone, right? Like getting into something, committing to it, not letting anyone outside turn it down or put you down, and just keep going. So congrats for getting this far.
Sure.
No doubt.
Thank you. We like to start off the podcast by giving each one of our guests their flowers. So to start off, you were a Wake Forest grad. You've had countless articles about you and what you do, and interviews about your story, and over $10 million in capital raised. Can you talk about that for us?
Yeah, definitely. So like how we got into it, or just part of the journey. Yeah. So the first question I always get asked is like, why laundry? How did you get into this? Did you have some sort of traumatic experience as a kid? And thankfully, no, I was not like shoved into a dryer or had to do laundry all the time or anything like that. So I first got exposed to it at Wake. So that's where I went undergrad. Worked for another student-run startup called Wake Wash, just to make some money to buy beer and a little spending cash when I was a freshman.
Very necessary,
right? And I fell in love with it. I was like, you guys are just playing the middleman, bringing the clothes from off campus to vendors off campus, and you guys are making good money doing it. What are you guys going to do when you graduate? And so I offered to buy it from them. I think they were asking for just under 30 grand, which I did not have. I had $2 grand saved up. But I was like, let me see if I can figure this out. So I got two other partners who had a lot more money than I did, took out a loan for the difference and bought it our sophomore year. And over the course of 2 years, sold it for about 10 times what we bought it for. Nice. Learned a ton along the way, and honestly thought I was done with laundry at that point. I was like, I'm over it. I learned a lot. It was a good experience, made some good money. I'm going to move to Charlotte and get a job. And after 2 years of being here in Charlotte, had the itch. I wanted to keep being an entrepreneur. Saw two companies on the West Coast raise $30 million to go after the space. And I said, I don't want to hit 30, 40, 50 years old and regret not going after this with everything that I've got. Quit my job and started 2U.
Okay. So we know your story about 2U and Wake Forest, right? So what inspired you to get with two group of students to make that 5K in revenue in 2 weeks?
Yeah. So I think what it was with 2U or with at Wake Wash?
2U.
Yeah, with 2U. So I think what got me back into it was I was working 40 to 60 hours a week uptown, wearing a suit every day, being uncomfortable, walking through 90-degree weather to get there. And it felt like, I felt like I was just kind of in the rat race again and the cog in the machine. And I knew how good it felt to run my own thing in college. And so I just kept getting sucked back to what else could I start? What could it be? And laundry was still wide open. I knew it. It was comfortable for me. So I talked to one of my lifelong friends from Red Wing, who's got a sales and marketing background. I was like, hey, let's go after this. There's wide open space. No one's figured it out. These other guys have raised $30 million. Why can't we be the East Coast version and figure it out? So he quit his job, broke up with his girlfriend at the time, broke the lease on his house, quit his job. He did everything, packed up the car.
From everything.
He broke free from everything. He's now married to her.
Big up him, yo.
It came full circle. And him and another buddy just packed the cars. He strapped the mattress to the roof, and they drove 22 hours straight from Red Wing down here. Didn't stop, didn't stay overnight anywhere else. 22 hours straight. And the rest is history. We started 2U in January of 16, and it's been a wild ride ever since.
Nice.
So you was talking about wearing a suit and walking to a job. So you speaking about Ernst and Young?
Yep. Yep.
So that was your final straw moment for you, for Ernst and Young, the rat race.
Oh yeah, I love the people that I worked with. Like, I mean, they definitely know how to work hard, play hard. They go to happy hours and party all the time, and it was good that you could actually hang out with people that you worked with. It was just the work itself was just kind of mundane and boring. And I remember there was one week that I was working my ass off on this spreadsheet and like and a presentation that went with it. I'm doing all this work, and my boss, a week after I'm doing this, like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you the client decided they didn't need this. Like literally the day after they told me to start working on it. So I wasted a whole week's worth of work. And so I felt bad to the client, and then their response was, like it's okay, it's still billable. And I was like, that just doesn't feel good. That it's so inefficient and not as clearly communicated as things could be. And I just wanted to go do my own thing.
How was the departure from Ernst & Young?
So honestly, it was like from a family perspective, I thought like I'd go to my parents and be like, hey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this. And they'd be supportive. At first, they were like, you got a job at a Big Four accounting firm and like you went to Wake and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, but life's not all about that. I want to go do this thing that makes me happy, that I'm passionate about.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And they were not as supportive as you'd think parents would be. They're now super supportive. I don't want to be dashing my
it worked out. It worked out.
First, and now they're like, yeah, we knew you should have been doing it. I'm like, okay. But the craziest thing was I had to go do exit interviews with 2 partners at EY. So these guys are probably they've been there for 20, 25 plus years, probably making close to $1 million a year type of positions at EY. And I was so nervous. I have to go tell these guys I'm going to leave here to go start a laundry business. I was like, they're going to make fun of me. They're going to tell me how the bad idea, and I'm going to regret. I was waiting for all that kind of lecture. And one of the guys, I'm sitting across from like you and I are now, and I remember looking him in the eyes, telling him I'm going to do this, and he's like, this grown man starts tearing up and was like, this is one of my biggest regrets in life.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm successful, but I climbed someone else's ladder, not my own. I didn't make my own ladder. There's weeks that don't, that go by that I don't think about this. He's like, you're making the right thing. You're making the right decision. And if it doesn't work out, we'll take you back 10 times over because you probably learned more than you would have had you stayed here. And that was just like the moment of clarity that I needed to be like, all right, I'm not as scared about making this decision now as I was, especially after hearing this super successful individual tell me, yeah, go do it. I regret not doing it.
Do we have that guy's name?
Yeah.
Shout him out because you don't get that often.
Yeah.
His name's Marcelo.
Okay.
Marcelo.
Big
Marcelo.
up.
Yeah, for real.
All right, so podcast listeners, if you didn't understand that message, go for after your passion. Like, do not let somebody dictate your own personal journey. That's the message from that little piece right there, for sure. But as you said, this has been a crazy ride since January of 2016, correct? So how were you able to scale to you at the rate that you have? Why aren't you hosting master classes? To be honest, like,
Time right now. Eventually, I'd love to, but I guess the first year I'll try to break it up into each of the 4 years that we've been doing this. The first year was just like getting your ass beat. It was 5 guys living in a 3-bedroom apartment. We had mattresses on the floor, so it'd be me, Dan with his mattress next to me, Turner, the other guy who started with us, his mattress at the foot of ours. We would basically sleep next to each other, wake up, drive Uber for 3 hours. So we go from 5:30 to like 8:30. We got a lot of our first customers that way. We'd bring bankers and consultants uptown. They'd be like, why are you driving Uber? Hey, we're starting this business. Check it out. Here's a promo card. And they would sign up and tell their friends. But it was just like hurdle after hurdle. We weren't sure who was our target customer. What do we price it at? How do we have to hire people now. How do we do that? Because we're 23, I think, at the time. And there were plenty of weeks where we just wanted to give up. Dan was like, I'm gonna go get a regular job. I can't, I'm burning through my savings. We can't keep going like this. And these grown men, or it's not grown men, but like young adults, 23, 24 at the time, there were weekends we'd drink and just start crying. Like, why are we doing this? This is so hard. Let's go back to our jobs. Why do people do this? And we just pushed through. I mean, it was all persistence that first year. And finally we caught a break, and it was these dual income families that started using 2U. It was, busy families with kids. The last thing they want to do when they get home from work is more work. So they're having someone come and cut the grass. They're using Harris Teeter grocery pickup and delivery, stuff like that. And now they're using 2U to get rid of their laundry and dry cleaning. And that just took off like wildfire at that point in the first year. And we raised our first outside round of capital, about $400,000 in that first year.
Nice. All right, so per your website, big up the research team, it says 2U has created over 1 million hours of free time. First of all, I want to check those numbers. How did y'all get to that?
Yep. So we asked customers like, how long do you think it takes to do your average load of laundry? And they said, I think it was 2 hours was the average response, which was higher than I thought it would be. And then we looked up what's the average pounds per load of laundry. It was 8.5 pounds. So we track all the pounds that we're doing. And we had, God, I think it was like 8 million pounds or something like that. Or sorry, it was 3 or 4 million pounds, divided it by 8, got the amount of loads, and then times by the 2 hours and got to over 1 million hours.
Okay, cool. So the follow-up question is, what do you think your customers have been doing with all that extra free time that you've created for them?
Oh man, it's so cool. Like the stories are so different. I mean, everyone's got a different walk of life, different background, different passions, hobbies. And that's what's cool is talking to our customers and be like, hey, what is it that you guys need help with? It was, I wanted to spend more time with my kids, more time with family. So like that feels good. Someone was chasing a promotion or, something at work. So I need more time to focus on that. We had a couple of artists that were, hey, I'm working on an album. I'm working on a piece of art. And this gives me, again, the mental clarity and space to do that. And the ones that like really hit home are, we have customers write in and say like, I don't know what I would do without you guys. My son just got diagnosed with stage 4 XYZ cancer. And we've had a number of those things happen where they're like, it's just so traumatic right now at home. We just want help, and you guys have given us that. And those moments where you think, we're just doing laundry, then you hear that and you're like, it is more than laundry at times. It's that mental peace of mind. It's that time with a sick family member or a healthy family member that you just want to, again, spend more time with them. That feels good to hear about.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure. 2U Laundry boldly embraces change when most companies stick to the status quo. How do you think adapting with change has led to your success?
I mean, I think it's everything, because when you have an idea, I think you envision what you want it to be or what you think it's going to be, and 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be that. It's going to be some variation of, but the path that you take to get to that point that you want to get to is not going to be a straight line.
Yeah.
And so out of the gate, Dan and I were like, we have assumptions and hypotheses that we need to go test, but at our core, we have to be able to boldly embrace change, because it's not going to be a straight line. It is going to be that ever-changing path. And I think it's almost everything. I mean, I can contribute almost all of that kind of idea to our success. I mean, even in this pandemic right now, right? Dry cleaning is down 80%. People aren't going into the office. They're not wearing suits, ties, slacks, etc., dresses. Laundry stayed the same, but so we've had to pivot. How do we make up for that lost revenue? How do we figure out our business for the world that's changing as fast as it is? And we've actually started franchising as a result of it. So that's us again, embracing change.
There it is.
So we're selling off brick and mortar locations that we've tested and have validated here in Charlotte. We've got a guy that wants to buy 10 in Atlanta now. Andre 3000 actually wants to get involved and open a
big up
open
3 stacks,
right?
Is it
He wants to do like this cool laundromat art experience where it's kind of like people could come share products they're working on, whether it's a mixtape or art that they're having at the laundromat. So it'd be this kind of like dual purpose. I don't know if we're gonna go pull through with it or not, but we're concepting things right now.
Well, just in case you do, make sure Jack of all spades CLT gets some passes. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I gotta ask, do you listen to Nipsey Hussle at all? Ever heard of him?
I've heard of him, and I listened to a few songs, but probably not as much as I should.
Okay. Well, he talked a lot about vertical integration, as you do. Nip once said, we're creating an ecosystem from production to consumption. Not only do we own the supply chain, but we can curate the experience. What are your thoughts, and how does 2U Laundry vertically integrate?
Yeah, so when we first started, we thought, hey, this would be Uber, like a marketplace like Uber, where we pair supply with demand. We just sit in the middle with technology and marketing. And over the first year and a half, we realized the supply chain doesn't exist, and we've got to vertically integrate and control it. As Nip said,
right.
we had to take control of our own destiny. Dry cleaning we could outsource because they're professional, they've been around forever. But on the laundry side, there's never been a need for mass volume, individualized cleaning before. And so we were going to these mom and pop laundromats, but the owners are passive self-service owners, right? It's 5 to 10 hours of their time a week. We were going and saying, hey, we'll double your revenue, but we need you to be here 40, 50, 60 hours a week, hire a team of 10 plus people, wash, sort, fold clothes, layer technology on, et cetera. And they're like, yeah, you said double my revenue. I'll figure it out. And a month goes by and they don't figure it out. They're not operators. They've never managed that many people before. It's always been like a passive business that they've run. And so you run into all these quality issues. They were losing 20% of people's stuff. It just you can't operate a business that way. And the margins weren't as good. So we decided, hey, we got to vertically integrate. And that was our huge inflection point in our whole story. This was in 2018. We partnered with Electrolux. They're a big appliance manufacturer. They do like Frigidaire and Maytag and brands like that. And they were like, hey, we'll finance the whole build out for this first one as long as you guys buy equipment from us at this location and future locations. Because they saw the vision. And we're like, hey, what do we have to lose testing one with you? And if it doesn't work, doesn't work. If it does, we're in bed with you guys early on and get to go build 100 of these or whatever it looks like.
Sure.
And so we bought an old McDonald's off of
Arrowwood.
South Boulevard.
We're closer to that side of town.
Yeah. And so we converted it into a laundry facility, and it's been one of the best things we've ever done. I mean, we now get to service the whole spectrum of customers, not just the wealthy families, but also lower income individuals and families that might not have a washer and dryer. And so we treat that brand with the same care and authenticity as we do for the 2U brand. We look at families that might not have their own washer and dryer as people that might feel embarrassed by that, ashamed by that. So we wanted to build a community, not just a laundromat that looks like your other typical run-of-the-mill laundromat where it's kind of dimly lit, a little dingy, not well taken care of. We put a ton of thought into free Wi-Fi, 20-plus 50-inch TVs, children's play area, financial literacy courses, things that are not just, hey, come in and spend money and put quarters into a laundromat. It was intended to be an extension of their home. So that's why it's called the laundry room, because we might say, hey, I'm in the laundry room, or I'm going to the laundry room. We wanted this to feel like that for them, because they might not have that at their house or their apartment.
Big up on that. So can you let the people know the location of the laundry room?
Yeah, so it's 901 East Arrowwood Road. It's right at the intersection of South Boulevard and Arrowwood Road. Across the street from there's a Campari Foods there.
Campari Foods?
Yeah, there you go. Right across from Campari, and there's an old Walmart that's kind of buttoned up against us as well.
Yeah, we're very familiar with that side of town. And that's a perfect segue to the next question. So in reference to what you were just speaking on, there was an article in the Charlotte Business Journal, and it talked about how the focus was of families and individuals with annual incomes of $75,000 or more. And we definitely wanted to, explore how are you guys being more inclusive as to what you were speaking on. So with the location, financial literacy courses, is there anything else to like you said, to be that bridge between the people that are more affluent and well off and the people that are lower?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2U Laundry out of the gate we've had to acknowledge it's an affordable luxury. It's not, it's not the Porsche or anything by any means, or the Lamborghini, but it's definitely a Lexus or like a kind of middle of the road brand, if you will, or a slightly above average brand that isn't going to be for everyone. But the laundry room laundry is a need that everyone has to do, and the laundry room is our kind of stopgap to fill, covering every end of the spectrum. We understand that some people might not be able to afford having their clothes picked up and delivered from their home, and that luxury, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have a very nice place to have their clothes cleaned 100%. And a place to go to. Yeah. And so that's how we've filled it is, do the extra stuff that most laundromats don't do. Provide the children's play area, because a lot of these families are coming together because they don't have a babysitter, they don't have someone to watch their kids. So bring them in. There's toys. There's a secluded area for those kids to play while you're trying to do laundry as a parent. There's those financial literacy courses that again help with how do I put money away, how do I start saving, and trying to avoid living paycheck to paycheck. There's the thought that goes into it. Food trucks there. There's just free Wi-Fi. All these things that are there to try to make it an elevated experience.
Yeah, that's dope. That's real dope.
The entrepreneur mindset is to scale a business, sell a business, start a new business. If you were to receive the right offer, my bad. I'm not playing.
What was that? Yo, that's a foul, yo. That's a foul.
But if you was to get the right offer for U2 Laundry, what would be
to
the next?
You, sir. To
2U
you.
Laundry.
Shout out to you too.
U2 money.
For 2U Laundry, what would be the next business venture for you?
I've always told myself I want to do some sort of business to business software play. I don't know what it would be yet, but after doing this for 4 years, doing consumer stuff is so hard. I mean, you've got so many complaints and people leaving reviews and just shit that you got to deal with that I never thought we would have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I feel like B2B would have its own set of problems, but easier to manage. I've also really wanted to, if this was a huge success and we sold it off, I'd love to start investing in other startups. I think one of the things that kind of was surprising to me when we raised our first bit of capital is a lot of it came from cities outside of Charlotte, even though there's tons of money here. It just showed me that the city, I think, is more risk averse than I thought it would be. It's a lot of real estate money. It's a lot of banking money. Yeah. And the only way that these communities thrive is people putting money back into them, reinvesting. And there's a lot of good ideas, good entrepreneurs here, but just not the capital flowing as freely as it should.
I feel like that's one of the major issues just with Charlotte in general, as far as, economic mobility. There's talent here, but they only want to give it to the good old boys, like the certain industries that's already been here and not really taking a chance, to your point. But I had a question as far as the complaints. What is the craziest review that you got, like a negative review somebody's written for you all?
Trying to think of the craziest one. I mean, you get all sorts of loony people that like, hey, okay, this is the craziest one. Someone sued us at one point. So you lost all these suits of mine. They sent us the receipts in. They have an attorney send us like the official notice of like, yeah, we're putting you on notice. We're coming after you for these suits. And we're like, we're looking everywhere for them. Can't find them. A month later, like we're starting this legal process with them. And he writes in, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. It was actually hanging in my closet. And I was like,
at least he followed up, I guess.
Yeah. Your first reaction is to like hire attorneys and like send all, it was, I mean, wild. And then the things that we find in people's pants, like that's,
oh man.
We've had husbands like calling him, and this was an accident. This wasn't a mistake that we made. We had someone else's underwear got in his order, and it was a woman's underwear. And he's like, man, you guys are going to jeopardize my marriage. And we had like talked to his wife, and we're like, no, this was a mistake. This was not him.
Oh yeah.
And then another one, you guys will probably get a kick out of this. This one cracks me up. There's two of them actually. One of them was, and we'll look up the customers when this stuff happens, because we're like, who in the world is doing this stuff? We look in these pants pockets, and there's a bag of cocaine in there, and $1,000 in cash, and we're like, who is this? And we look it up, and it is like this high up person at one of the banks uptown, and his wife is like a Sunday school teacher, and I'm like, what?
They get it in.
Yeah, I was like, you would
those
not.
Those are your weekend pants.
And the second one was, that there's a road that's going to South Park Mall that has all the nice homes on it, and it was one of those houses. And this is kind of gross. One of the sorters at the laundry facility, calls our manager and was like, "Hey, I got this kind of hazardous waste thing going on." We're like, "What do you mean hazardous waste?" And she's like, "There's like a full human turd in this bag," and she's like, "Not like streaks. Like there was a full this guy had shit in the bag." And we're like, "Is this like a kid or?" And so we looked the customer up. It was two grown adults. Wow. Like kids are in college, so one of them just did that. And we charged him a hazardous waste fee of like $50, and he calls in and like, hey, there's what's this hazardous waste fee? And our customer care person was like, there was an excessive amount of fecal matter in your order.
There was a whole turd in your pants.
And he just went, understood.
What kind of life is he leading?
Ended the call. I'm just like, how does that happen? What goes through your head? Why
so
do you
many
think
more
that's
questions.
That we never got answered. We never got.
Where's the follow-up for real?
We just let it go. He was understood.
Oh my goodness!
Hasn't happened again. Thank God.
Oh man! I'm sorry I went through that. It's a human issue.
It's the weirdest stuff. We find stuff all the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, you go through things as a business. You get introduced to new things every now and then. But that's gonna segue me into. As a local homegrown startup company, how has 2U Laundry given back to the community?
Yeah, so a number of things that we try to do is one of our core values is do good while doing well. And what we mean by that is it's not necessarily like, oh, hey, we're going to donate $1,000 to this charity, because that's just kind of like, hey, donate and move on. Ours is, can we do good for the community while we're doing well for ourselves? So hiring people from certain demographics or underserved areas, because we need to hire people anyway. Why not intentionally try to bring them in from underserved zip codes or minority groups or what have you? Others are, we do a clothing drive. So we've partnered with Steve's Coats for Kids and other organizations where, again, instead of us just writing a check to them and saying, hey, here's a bunch of new coats, we already have this fleet of vehicles out Monday through Friday, crossing every single sector of Charlotte that you can imagine. Why couldn't we go to people's house, pick up donations from your house, and then bring them to someone who needs them, versus, again, just saying, hey, like, donate the money and we'll buy a new XYZ. So we're already going out to these houses, picking up bags of laundry, bags of dry cleaning. We say leave out a bag of donated clothes, because a lot of people I think want to do donations. It's just finding the time to go bring it to Goodwill or
Correct.
whatever organization. So we act as that intermediary, and we've collected, I think, 40 to 50,000 pounds of donations now, and probably outfits for 60 to 70,000 people.
Nice.
And that feels good again, because it doesn't cost us a whole lot to do that, but it does create a ton of impact, while us being able to
Right.
do well as a business, as a startup that is struggling and not making, we're not profitable yet, right? And so we're trying to figure it out as we go, but that doesn't mean we can't leave some sort of impact while doing our kind of day-to-day routine and business operations that we have to do anyway.
Now, two key things, like people will look at the articles and say, you guys raised this much money, but then they don't understand you have gross and you have net.
Right.
So you might have raised so many millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, after you pay out everybody, y'all might be sitting on what, 30,000?
Right,
Of course not that low, but yeah.
Right, like we're trying to buy growth. I mean, it's the reason we're raising money is because we're not profitable. Let's try to go launch a second city, a third city, a fourth city, a fifth city, build a new building, add new technology capabilities, whatever it is, and just trying to figure it out. I mean, Uber is still not profitable, right? And
That's
everyone looks
true.
at Uber,
True.
and it's like, Uber's got it all figured out. It's like, they might not ever be a real business. In 3 years, they could be gone. 5 years,
Yeah.
they could be gone. If it's not profitable, eventually the money, the well runs dry unless you figure it out.
Yeah, and then just hearing the way you talked about your business, would you consider it a social enterprise?
Not entirely. I think we try to incorporate social elements though to it, because I could stand on my soapbox about this, but I feel like if you go all the way back, thousands of years, hundreds of years, I feel like the center of power sat with religion, right? It was like the Catholic Church and the Crusades, and that's how they kind of controlled the masses, was through religion. And then it became government. Government controlled all of us in society and put the rules down. And now I feel like it's corporations. It is
doubt.
Amazon and Apple and Google. They really control kind of everything that's going on. So I look at that as, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it requires businesses to have more of a social responsibility to be that center of power and not take advantage of it, and do good while doing well. Honestly, is do their part, because they are in control now. They're in the driver's seat, so they have to look out for everyone, not just themselves.
No doubt. All right, so now let's get into the fun stuff. So I grew up Latino. Shout out all my friends, all the countries. Y'all already know what it is. Ya tú sabes. Me llamo de Jota. Come on now. Y'all know what time it is. So I grew up dancing bachata, merengue, salsa, casino, like all of it. We did, the research team found out that your girlfriend is Colombian.
Uh-huh.
So do you know what cumbia is?
Uh-huh.
You know what it is? Mm-hmm. Okay, then good job on that. How nice is your salsa game? Because I know she's taking you out.
Oh, man, I'm like a 4 out of 10 right now. I'm gonna be honest. It's one of those things that I want to get better at, and it's just like my rhythm. I don't know if I used to play drums, so you'd think I'd have rhythm, but that's like a whole. It's like off. It's
different skill
offbeat.
set.
It is like
Different
kind of
skill set.
offbeat a little bit, and I'm like, how do you? I'm still trying to figure that out. She tries though. Her and her mom both try to get me going.
Oh, Spanish women, yeah, all day. Even grandma, she gonna get out there.
Oh yeah. It's the same move every time, a different beat. So
Yeah.
I'm like, how does this all fit?
You
But
get the basics, man. You good in all of them. That's my word.
have you been to Salud?
Of course.
Yeah. Spanish night.
Yeah. I've been to every place in Charlotte. Spanish night.
It's so fun.
Nice.
And
my feet don't
half
do that.
Puerto Rican poppy over here.
I might be a 4-2.
Yeah. You and I gotta practice.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We're gonna get together.
It's in the blood though for you. It might come a little bit easier for you.
Depends on the song, maybe. I don't know. Or the drink. Definitely the drink. I know we covered earlier, being where you're from, Minnesota. But we got to know, how many pair of Red Wing boots do you own?
Oh, I've got 3 or 4 Red Wing boot gang.
Only 3 or 4? Look, that's where you from. What do you mean?
I think I had about 4 pairs of Timberlands when I was at my best out of New York. So that's all right.
You know Drake raps about him? He
Yeah,
said,
Red
he said
Wing,
Red Wing boot gang. So we all got like one of my buddies got a sweater that says like Red Wing boot gang on it. And he's got the shoes and stuff. That's our small claim to fame.
Yeah,
a
no
crew
doubt.
now.
No doubt.
It's a crew now. And you got to be a Vikings and a Prince fan. We need to know, who's your favorite Vikings player all time?
All time.
I think just growing up, it's always, I feel like when we're all kids, right? Like who you remember
yeah.
watching, and for me that was AP. And like he was so good, and then watching him come back off the year that he tore his ACL, and like you think he's
Yeah.
done, and then he goes and gets, I think, the third
Like
most
2,000
rushing yards.
Yeah, crazy.
he goes and almost breaks the record. He was off by, I remember it was 8 or 9 yards to go into the first place spot for the most rushing yards in a season. And I remember watching that game against the Packers. It was a playoff game, and he almost had
the rival too.
And we for whatever reason, it was like 30 seconds left in the quarter, and they were just, I think they just were doing checkdowns or something, and it was like he could have just given one more play. Like he probably has it. Just let him do it. Like let him do it, and they didn't do it. I'll never forget stuff like that.
That's a great choice, though. AP
Right.
for sure.
I gotta ask, but also from being from Minnesota, like you're closer to the source. So, any good Prince stories, Lake Minnetonka, anything? What we got?
Dave Chappelle's the guy for that. He's got him and Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy.
Charlie.
They got all the stories. But the only like Red Wing like music story that's interesting to me is is it Bob Dylan? Yeah, Bob Dylan was from Minnesota as
Right.
well. And he stayed at a correctional facility in Red Wing because he was, I guess, as a kid, causing all sorts of trouble. And so he wrote music about staying in Red Wing, which is a town of 14,000 people. So that's why I'm always like, oh, this is so cool that you got anyone knows it. The fact that you guys even knew Red Wing boots is like,
Big up, man.
Yeah, right.
Big up.
Research team. So, have you ever been to Barn Bluff? And for those who don't know what it is, what is Barn Bluff?
no way. How did you guys just like Google this? Or how did
Hey, the research team, sir. We have a strong research team.
Yeah, we
This
call
is
Narwhal.
amazing.
we branch out.
Yeah, is it Nardwar? Is that the guy?
Narwhal.
He just knows shit that like their mom doesn't even know. Like,
Hey, big up the research team.
right? So yeah, Barnes Bluff is this like small hill. I don't know. In Red Wing, everyone's like it's the biggest thing ever, but it's this like small. It's like a hill. Honestly, it's not even really that big. But you go up and you're right on the Mississippi River. We're right on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and it's just these beautiful views of this small like, like postcard Red Wing. It's this like right on the river and all these beautiful bluffs flowing behind it. So like people would walk up there and just kind of hang out and date spot, exercise spot. Smoke spot.
Pick your poison. Pick your poison.
Okay, made me think of Snow. He was on another bluff, right? I want to congratulate you on your new home. We want to start with that.
Home
Thank
ownership is important.
For sure. With the steady growth and building of the city of Charlotte, are there any suggestions you would give someone looking for a new home?
Yes, I mean, I was always looking for areas that aren't like the spot, right? I want to go to the area that's going to be the spot in 5 to 10 years. And someone said something to me recently that really stuck out, and it was like, look at South End, all this, just everything's blowing up and popping off in South End, and that's a result of the light rail that was, announced. I think it was 10 years ago for South End. And so we're 10 years into all the growth that's on the South End side. It's still not stopping. It's still going on to LoSo or Lower South End. Whatever people they're trying to brand it like that. I don't know if I feel that.
I don't respect that LoSo.
I don't really like
Fabulous
that,
all day.
But then, so you look at the north side up into like Noda.
Yeah.
That announcement was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. So we're 3 years into probably a similar 10-year thing on that side of town. That whole, I was trying to buy a house over there, and just, there's so much already just sucked up. But between, I'm trying to think of like what's right there. Defiance, or there's Divine Barrel. There's like another in Dija Noodle Bar. Like that little area right there. Between there and University, there's so much opportunity coming and so much growth. So I would say just look for those areas that are going to be coming, but no one's touched yet. I'm actually like the neighborhood that I'm in is there's still a lot of houses being flipped, and I look for those areas where like, hey, we're the first one into an area that people might say, hey, like that's a little rough still or whatever. I'd rather be in those areas because it's going to continue to build up and improve.
All right. Speaking of which, we noticed we moved closer to the Uptown area. That's neighboring Clanton Park as well as Brook Hill.
Yep.
Are you aware of the people being displaced and the gentrification, and did it give you any concerns moving into that area?
No, not at all. I mean, I think as long as, and maybe this is the small Red Wing Minnesota guy in me, but I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I feel like if I treat people with respect, I'm going to get treated with respect. And so, we've got all sorts of different neighbors, right? It's that, you got people that are just moving in, and part of that gentrification, you've got people that have been there. And they're both equally as hospitable and nice as the other. And so like, whether it's color of your skin or the amount of income you have, I'd like to look at all of us as humans and people. And as long as I treat people with that respect, I'm hopefully going to get it back. It doesn't always work that way. We actually just caught someone embezzling money from us this last week.
Wow.
It was crazy. But the person who did it is not what you'd stereotype, or what people would stereotype traditionally. And so even though stereotypes exist, I try not to play into them or let those drive my decision or how I act or how I treat people.
No doubt. I mean, I definitely wish, more people had that mindset,
Right.
judge your character, not the, little superficial things that make us different. So, yeah, no doubt. So in reference to the blog, how did it get started? And I asked because there was an article that I had to share with my nephew. He's 11 now, but it was the article, how do you really clean your bathroom? So you can only imagine an 11-year-old boy and what his bathroom looks like. So
Grown men too. I've seen it.
Yeah.
oh, I shoot them the article.
Yeah, everybody. Like there's a lot of people.
Yeah. So what inspired that? Because I think that's a dope, another, piece of To You.
Yeah, so really it was like, I think it was content strategy of like, hey, we need to get SEO and blogs help rank and that. So we started having some of our best customers write some of those pieces who are passionate about like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. We're neat freaks. Can I share, some of my tips with you? Like, yeah, sure. Put in an article and we'll get it on Medium.
Yeah.
And so we just continue to add to this collection of blogs, and we'll have, guest writers. Sometimes we'll write them ourselves. And it's just more of like a content strategy to get it out there, get SEO, get views, and hopefully customers as a result.
No doubt.
Cool. So now moving to our favorite segment of this whole podcast episode. We have your top 5 Dead or Alive questions.
Top 5
All right.
Dead
So,
or Alive.
what are your top 5 traits for a good CEO?
So top 5, I think the first one to me is empathy.
Empathy.
I feel like I've had success with that, being human and treating my my team like human beings. I think a lot of people feel like they need to be like the boss and like give all this direction, and direction's important, right? But I also feel like if we do a good job hiring the right people, they're gonna they're gonna know what needs to be done. They're gonna ask for help when they need it. And I don't need to be micromanaging because no one likes that, right? When someone's over their shoulder,
Hell nah.
tapping them. And so I act with the mindset of like give trust immediately, and I'll take it away if you
Right.
cause me to do so. Not you have to earn my trust. I've never been one of those people that defaults that you got to earn it first. I give it immediately, and then if you lose it, you lose it. That's on your own by your own doing. So empathy. I think being able to communicate is important. That's something that I struggle with. Is like I'm good one-on-one, but if I'm speaking in front of 30 people, or I just speak in front of like 500 or 600 people when we're at Techstars, and that like, oh my God, that makes my like heart start going. But communication in general. So I don't mean like public speaking. I mean just being able to articulate your thoughts, listen to people is just as important to me as communicating. It's not just the talking; it's the also listening component of communicating is super important. What's the third? I think being organized. I mean, there's a million things going on. You might be doing operations, you're doing marketing, you might be doing finance, and it's like knowing enough to be able to helpful to all three of you is one of the hardest things for me. Is I have to go a mile wide and like 3 inches deep, or deep enough to understand and be helpful to each person on my team. So that requires me to be very organized and on top of everything that each person's doing. Fourth and fifth, I'd say charisma is another one of them. You got to be likable, no matter how good you are at communicating or being empathetic. If you don't have this charisma innately, people aren't going to follow you.
Correct.
I think that's an underrated skill, to be honest.
Right. And I don't even know if it's really, I don't know if it's something that you can develop, or if
True.
you just have it. I really don't know, but I feel like that's one thing too, is just being a likable person. I don't know how you do that. But, the last one though, I'd say is having a vision. That's one for the last year or two that our team has kind of hounded me a little bit for. Is I think I have it in the back of my head, but this goes back to communication.
Correct.
I'll say it a little bit differently to you than I would, Caroline or another person on our team. And so getting everyone aligned so that everyone is on the same page, even though they all probably have different communication styles. So I might say the same thing to 3 people, but they all interpret it 3 different ways.
Right. Yeah.
So I need to adjust to make sure I'm saying it the right way that resonates with you and resonates with you. And we've implemented all these new things this past year that has allowed us all to get on the same page better than we've ever done. But it just showed me how important alignment and on vision is.
All right. Well, let me ask this question. It wasn't part of the research team, but this is through everything that I've heard today. Next steps, like what are you seeing like the immediate future, like the 6 months? Well, the 6 months going into 2021.
Yeah, so for us right now, I mean, like this huge change, right? The world's flipped on its head. Dry cleaning's out the door basically for now until people go back to work. And so franchising is like we're almost starting all over again from nothing. And so I want to really sell our first 3 to 5 franchise units, and then get them open as quickly as possible. Because at the end of the day, selling them's not success, right? It's like that's validation that we're headed down the right path. Success is when our first few locations open and those owners are incredibly happy. They got a profitable business. The investment that they made, the risk that they took is paying off. They're able to make money for their families, for their kids' college, or whatever it might be that they're doing it for. That to me is going to be that moment, and getting there as quickly as possible is what I'm excited for.
All right.
I got to throw one in.
Go ahead.
While BB almost had a party foul earlier when he said U2. How many times have you heard U2?
So many.
Okay, so it's not that bad. That's what I was thinking. But
Shout out Bono. Shout out Bono.
And from the beginning, we had this list of names, right? And it was like, looking back on how we chose it is like the stupidest thing. But we had this list of like 4, and we just surveyed 50 random people or something. It was between 2U Laundry and the Laundry Boys.
Oh,
it's just
I
like,
I like that too, though.
And everyone says U2, and it's because of Bono. And I'm like, someday. We bought U2 Laundry, every variation of domains you can imagine, because people do that. They'll type U2.
That's a come up. That's a come up, though. Buying domain names.
Right?
Well, Mr. Smereczniak, you have done Red Wing proud.
Very
Maybe
proud.
the first. I'm sure you've heard it many times, but you definitely done proud, sir. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you coming on with us. But can you shout out all your social media handles so the people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to sign up or learn more about the service, it's www.2ulaundry, the number 2, the letter U, laundry.com. And then you can use promo code Alex20. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's just at 2ulaundry, again, number 2, letter U, laundry.com.
So look at that, listeners. You know, we don't always give out gifts, but now you get 20% off Alex20 on the promo code.
Yep.
Jack of all spades CLT exclusive.
just don't leave a turn in your
Y'all can thank us later. That's what we do for y'all.
You got to stay fresh and clean.
Yes. Yo, shout out Dre Stacks again, yo. But listeners, y'all know what time it is, man. We always appreciate you guys tapping in with us, checking in with us. Jack of all spades CLT on IG. You know, you can find us on Spotify for all the streaming platforms. Of course, Apple Podcasts. Of course, Google Podcasts. Of course, SoundCloud. Of course, my favorite breaker.
Yes.
For the audio and the visual, YouTube, of course. Jack of all spades. CLT or just Jack of all spades?
Jack of all spades.
You have it. So, I am the beloved one.
It's YBB. Shout out Central African Republic. Got it right.
Yes.
Yep. Banks, Blue Water Banks. Shout out Fat Boy Tires.
Yes. Alex Smereczniak. Any parting words, sir?
No, just thanks for having me on, guys. Again, tremendous job again, and hats off to you guys for sticking with it. Again, I know how hard that first year is, so appreciate you having me on and you guys powering through as you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You heard the words of that great man over there, man. But you know how we close this thing out? Malik Taylor, if you don't know who that is, that's Phife Dawg. If you don't know what Phife Dawg is, Google A Tribe Called Quest.
Correct.
Yeah, Google.
Tell your mother, tell your father, send a telegram, and we out.